Well, welcome back. Those are some good songs. I haven't heard Faithful in a minute, and that was awesome. I needed to hear that because the Lord is faithful. Friends, we've got 4 weeks left in this semester, which is just crazy. It's kind of sad. COVID and snowvid, did a number on us, but we're gonna press on. We're gonna make the most of these 4 weeks, and so tonight we're starting a dating series, and we're gonna go for the next 4 weeks, and we're gonna just talk about it. We're gonna go there, and I'm gonna preface here from the beginning. From the very beginning, I might say this every week, just so you don't hate me. I'm not trying to break you up, okay? I'm not trying to make you get together. I'm not trying to do anything crazy to you. I'm not going nuts. My goal, I have none of you in my head as I'm saying these things. Simply put, my goal is to preach the Word of God, and my goal and the hope of this ministry is that all of you would be fully devoted followers of Jesus that are honoring Him in every aspect of your life, one of those being relationships. And so as we talk about these things, man, I hope that you would just let the Word of God do its work in your life, and that you would reflect on these things, but you would also do it in community, because every single person in this room has a different situation, and you have a unique set of circumstances in your life. And I know this because we did a dating series in the past, and I would say something in a general sense, and then I had multiple people, it's like, yeah, but my situation is this, and so I don't know if that fits in. It's like, but he's actually a good guy. And I'm like, okay, I'm just trying to help. Like, don't hate me. I'm just trying to help. I know he's a good guy. They're always a good guy. But I'm not taking, okay, that was a shot, but whatever. Tonight, doesn't matter. I'm already digging myself in a hole, so I might as well go for it, right? Tonight, what we are talking about is singleness. And I think this is where we have to start when we're talking about a dating series, because 99% of this room is single. And just so how we define single is if you're not married right now, you are single. I know some of you might be 5 weeks from marriage, might be 5 years from marriage, whatever that may be. You might be dating, you might be engaged, and that's awesome. I love that. I celebrate that. But in this moment, you are not bound in a covenant relationship for the rest of your life in marriage. That's not where you are, and that's awesome. And so we want to speak to that. We want to speak to that because it is such a commonality in this room. We need to know what God's Word says about it and how we should view our singleness and how we should use our singleness. And so I know I need to be careful tonight because not only is singleness a commonality in this room, it is also a sensitivity in this room. And okay, I'm already getting amens. All right, I get it. Here's the deal. I know some of you hate that you're single. I know some of you are ashamed, you're embarrassed, you hate going to Thanksgiving because that one aunt is like, how are you not dating at this point? Like, I know you're not ugly. Like, what's going on, right? And you're like, leave me alone, Aunt Judy. Like, whatever it is, I don't know. Like, leave me alone. And you don't even want to go there. And you don't even want to have this conversation. And you're like, I'm tired of being reminded that I'm single. And some of you view singleness like bad breath. Like you just, everywhere you carry it around and you don't want it, you're trying to get rid of it, like it is just bad breath, and you are so trying to cover it up and do all of these different things, and it is just the worst to you, that you hate it, you're ashamed of it, and I think there's another part of this. We believe that dating and one-day marriage is the cure to a lot of our problems. And that's a dangerous thing that I want to attack here. And here's some examples. You are lonely. You are lonely. You have feelings of loneliness, maybe not all the time, but sometimes. And so you think dating is the answer to that loneliness. It is the cure to that loneliness. So you try and find someone that you can connect with, that you can spend time with, that you get bored, and so you want somebody to do things with. You feel like you aren't understood, and you think dating is the answer to be understood. You feel unlovable. You feel unworthy. And you think that in dating, if someone will date you and spend time with you and have this official stamp on a relationship, then all of a sudden you are going to have significance and worth. And this is a problem in many ways, but I think one of the biggest reasons you'll see relationships, and I don't know if this is in this room, you'll see relationships that are so toxic. And it is so clearly, whether it's the girl or whether it's the guy, that the other person is not good for them. Like they're not leading them in a direction that is honoring to the Lord. Like it might be a Christian girl and a guy that might be a Christian, but more just maybe a good guy, except they're not. And they shouldn't be in that relationship, but they can't let go of it. They can't move away from it because they think their significance and worth is wrapped in that. Their security, their social status is wrapped in these things because we think dating and marriage is the cure to our problems, and it's not. It isn't the cure to our problems. And I know some of you in the room, everyone is dating. People are starting to get engaged. You see the pictures on Instagram, you see them on Facebook, and you're excited for them. You do the heart, you do all of the things. But there's something inside of you that's a little bit terrified. Because you're like, okay, it's fine that some of you start dating and get engaged and get married, but like, I don't want to be the last one because we all know the last one's the rotten egg, right? And we have this clock ticking on us, and we think, man, if I don't get married in the next year, then I'm going to be 45, and it's just going to go boom. I'm not married, and this is the rest of my life, and I'm just going to go get cats, right? That's what we think. This is what the thing we carry in our lives, and we're like, I don't want to be the last one because the last one's a rotten egg, and all of my friends are dating, all of my friends are getting engaged. They're just flying past me, and we are terrified of being the last one, as if we think that changes our worth, our significance, or all of these different things. And so I know that's in the room right now. I'm sure we could list off tons of other reasons. We could even go to the other side of that fence, and there's a lot of people maybe in this room that are in a relationship or not in a relationship, and they have this comparison game. You say, well, I could get with that person if I wanted to. I could get with somebody that looks this way or does these things, and we look and we have jealousy and we have contempt, or we have a pride about us because we are dating and now we are in this cool social status of like, look, someone likes me, someone will spend time with me, someone wants to go get ice cream together. I don't know what your thing is, but it's fine. But we carried that stuff with us. And it's all of this stuff that is just swarming around our dating culture and our singleness culture and how we view it. And so tonight, from God's Word, all I really want to do is explain how the Bible talks about singleness and how we are to use our single years. So open your Bibles to 1 Corinthians chapter 7. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 is where we're going to be. Just the context here of, we're going to start in verse 7, but in the lead up, Paul is addressing things to the church in Corinth, and he is talking about marriage and really the sex life of people that are married and how they would balance their sex life in marriage, and he's kind of going into these detailed questions. And then Paul pivots out of the married life, and he starts addressing everyone. He starts really talking about himself, and here's what he says in verse 7. 1 Corinthians 7, verse 7. He says, "Yet I wish that all men were even as I myself am. However, each man has his own gift from God, one in this manner and another in that." Paul's saying, I wish you were like me. You say, well, what does that mean? What is Paul like? Verse 8, "But I say to the unmarried and to the widows that it is good for them if they remain even as I." Paul is saying, wow, air conditioning stopped with that. That was awesome. Paul is saying, I am single, and I wish others would remain single and stay single like I am. That's a big statement. Paul's saying, hey, just to be honest, like I'll answer your questions on marriage, but if you're not married and you're reading this letter, you should probably stay single. And this is what else Paul says. He says, however, each man has his own gift from God, one in this manner and another in that. So let's break down what Paul is saying. He's saying, hey, not every person is going to be single their whole life. This is what we call the gift of singleness. I know some of you are like, this is the white elephant gift that you get, and you're like, please someone steal this gift. Like, you cute, you want to steal this gift, right? Like, that's how we view the gift of singleness, honestly. Like, someone take this from me. I don't want this gift. I don't want it the rest of my life. I don't want to be celibate the rest of my life. And Paul's saying, hey, that's fine. Not everybody has this gift of singleness for the rest of their lives, that some will be married. I am married. Obviously, this is a reality that Paul knows, but he says singleness is a gift. And so what we got to figure out is why singleness is a gift. And just so we're clear, if you're single in this room right now, you have the gift of singleness. That doesn't mean you're going to be single the rest of your life, but right now you have a gift and you need to learn how to use that and to steward that and not view it as a curse, but as a gift. So how do we do this as single people? Paul talks about this. We're going to jump around a little bit in this chapter. So go ahead and jump to verse 32 of chapter 7, because this is where Paul really dives into it, of why this is a gift right now in our lives. Verse 32 says, "But I want you to be free from concern. One who is unmarried is concerned about the things of the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But one who is married is concerned about the things of the world, how he may please his wife, and his interests are divided. The woman who is unmarried and the virgin is concerned about the things of the Lord, that she may be both holy in body and spirit. But one who is married is concerned about the things of the world, how she may please her husband. This I say to you for your own benefit, not to put a restraint upon you, but to promote what is appropriate and to secure undistracted devotion to the Lord." Singleness is a gift because it allows for undivided devotion to the Lord. That's what Paul says. Singleness is a gift because it supplies and it allows for undivided devotion to the Lord. So I am married, so I can speak from a decent, not even a year's experience, but I'm getting closer to a year. And marriage is an awesome thing. And marriage is a gift. And I am glad that I am married, but it is much different than being single. My life looks much different than it did when I was single. I spend a decent amount of time driving around in U-Hauls that Amy purchases stuff off of Facebook Marketplace for our new house, right? Like, there's just random things in my life. I mean, I could just go on this list of how my life is different. And here's the thing. When you get married, it's not like time magically just gets cut in half. It's not like there's less time in the day. It's that I am now actively seeking and listening to Amy and learning how to love her. And we are spending time together. And that is something that I didn't have in my life before I was married. And so I don't want to paint a marriage in a bad picture and say, marriage sucks, be single the rest of your life. Yeah, like that's not the truth. Marriage is awesome. Marriage is a really good thing, and I hope a lot of you pursue that and do it well and do it well the rest of your life. But within this room, in your single years, I would say there is no greater opportunity and no greater combination of freedom and responsibility/competency than right now in your life. There's no greater combination of freedom that you have and responsibility that you have in your life. And here's what I mean by that. Once you graduated high school, all of a sudden, you had more free time. But not only that, you now have the competency and the ability to do things with your free time. When you're in high school, yeah, you had free time, but your parents are kind of over you in a certain way, and you have school from for 8.5 hours or whatever it is. It's ridiculous in high school. It's like babysitting more than it is anything else. But anyways, hot take. you have all of this, like you have a certain amount of time, but you have these things, you have extracurriculars, you have all of this stuff. But here in this room, right here, there is an unbelievable amount of freedom that you can get up, you can get a job, you can quit a job. You can go do this thing, you can go do that thing, you can drive here, you can just get up and go places. I mean, my friends in college, we did so many random things. Like we would just say, hey, you want to go to Mississippi? Yeah, let's go to Mississippi. So we went to Mississippi, and we stopped by Starkville, Mississippi State, and we were like, you want to just get into this game? And we were like, yeah, let's just get into this game. And so we found two of our friends' IDs that didn't want to go to game, and it was like a girl and a guy that didn't look anything like us, and we were like, and they let us in, and we got to go watch this game, and it was awesome. And we just did that over a weekend, and it was just boom. Let's just go do it. Like, you just can't do that anymore. Like, I mean, I would have to talk to Amy. Like, Amy and I are constantly scheduling around different things. She's like, okay, I have an appointment. Okay, we have birthing class right now. We got to do these things. And I'm like, okay, I have work. And so we're just constantly trying to schedule and do these things. And it's awesome, but our lives are different now. You can just do whatever you want. You're not bound by things, but you also have a capability that a middle schooler just doesn't. And a high schooler just doesn't. And this is why I love being in college ministry, because this is the coolest stage of life out there. And you have such a unique position in your life to use it and to take advantage of it. And the reason why when we're talking about singleness is because I don't want you to lose these years. I don't want you to waste these years just wishing that you would be married. Like you're sitting here with a gift on your lap that is singleness. And all you're doing is looking and saying, man, I wish I didn't have this gift. I wish I had that gift. I wish I was married already. It's like a dog. I don't know if you ever play, when you have two dogs and you have tennis balls around them. Like one of them has a tennis ball, you toss them a tennis ball and they go fetch and they bring it back and they're coming back and they're so happy because they have a tennis ball. And then you're playing with the other one and then all of a sudden the tennis ball this one has, they're just like, drop. And then they go and fight. I almost did the drop, but it was stupid. Like they just all of a sudden, they don't want that tennis ball. They just don't care. They're like, I want that tennis ball. And then you give them this tennis ball and the other dog goes to get that tennis ball and they're like, oh, I want that tennis ball. And it's just this game, like they have one in their mouth, but they want that one, and then you switch, and then they want the other one. And this is what we do when it comes to singleness, and often marriage. I mean, marriage has the highest divorce rate that we have ever seen. And people are getting married later than they ever have. I mean, this is unreal. The statistics of our culture and of our generation are absurd. And what that tells you is that married people get married and they want to be single. And single people are single and then they just want to be married. Like we're just playing this game. We're like, I don't want this. I don't want that. I don't want to do these things. I don't want to sit in this stuff. And both of them are gifts and they are different things completely, and they're awesome in their ways. But right now you are single, and I don't want you to look at your life and say, man, all I want to do is be single. Dating. All I want to do is be married. I hope you do want to be single in this moment. And so let's just talk about this. I said singleness is a gift because it allows for undivided devotion to the Lord. So knowing my interests are divided in pleasing Amy and Amy's interests are divided in pleasing me doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It doesn't mean marriage is bad, because I am serving God in my love for Amy, and Amy is serving God in her love for me. In the family that we're about to have, Asher, the kid that we're about to have, now one of our chief responsibility is to disciple that kid. And it's this weird thing because we're running this ministry and we're doing these things, and Brittany and Jordan are in the same place because they're about to have a kid, and it's going to be awesome, and we're starting a t-ball team, and it's going to be cool, and y'all can all show up and cheer, and they're going to hit them over the fence and knock it out of the park, and whatever else I'll say as a dad. And that's going to be awesome, and we want to disciple our kids, and we want to do that so well. But that means less time here. That means our interests are going to be divided. And that's a tough thing. But that's part of life. That's part of this next stage. And so as great as marriage is, my encouragement to you is don't just rush into it because you think that's where it is. Because you think that's where life starts. Marriage isn't the end goal of your life, and you shouldn't just race there. We'll talk about that more in just a second. And so, what I would say, I don't regret getting married. Just so we're clear on that. I don't regret getting married. But what I do regret is the years and the areas of my single life that I wasted. And that's why I think this conversation is so important. Because I look back on my life, and as much as I served, and as much as I was involved, and as much as I tried to jump in, man, there were stretches of my life, there were seasons of my life where I just didn't do anything. And I didn't use the freedom that I had and the competency that I have. I just wasted those years. And this isn't going to hit you until you're tossed into life and you're trying to swim. Because that's often what God does. He just tosses you into the water and you got to start swimming. That's what happened to me. I hadn't even graduated college yet. And I was like, oh, I'm great. I've got time and I'm going to learn ministry. I'm going to do an internship and it's going to be awesome. And then I get a phone call and they're like, hey, you want to lead this college ministry? It's yours. You got the job. I'm like, I said yes. I'm glad I did. It's this job. Spoiler alert. I said yes, and it's great. Whoa, this is happening. But here's the thing. I started, and I had no idea what I was doing. I had no clue. And I was calling my boss. I was calling my friends, and I'm like, I think I suck at this job. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm asking them all of these like elementary things, and I'm like, so how do I lead a meeting? And I'm like, how do I preach from the Bible? How do I disciple? And I'm asking all of these basic questions, and here's the worst part of it all. I sat in a million meetings in college. I was discipled in college. I listened to the Bible being preached all the time, and yet I never listened and I never took advantage of that and said, this might be me someday, and so I'm going to invest in this. I'm going to learn this. I'm going to use the years that I have before I am tossed into it, and it's up to me, and I'm responsible. And so this is why this is so important, because God is calling you into things in your life. And it might be ministry. All of you are going to do, Lord willing, ministry in your life. It might not be vocational, but all of you are going to be used by God. So asking yourself, like, are you prepared to disciple someone? Like if I just gave you somebody and I say, hey, boom, here, go, disciple. What are you going to do? Where are you going to take them? What's important? What do we believe? How do we behave? How are you going to disciple that person? What is your job? What do you want to do with your life? What purpose are you seeking? You want to be a pilot? What can you do now to start investing in that so you do it well? These are the things that you can start thinking of, that you can take advantage of these years so that you don't look back on it and say, man, I could have done so much more in my single years, but I didn't take advantage of it. I wasted it. You have the ability to accomplish incredible things, and you have the time to do it. You have the freedom to devote yourself to growth, to service, and ministry. And I think with these abilities and all of these things to make massive strides in your college years. I was a believer going into college, but I came back after 4 years a completely different person. Like a completely different person. And that was from the things that I did. I'm so grateful for the growth that happened in these years that you are in right now. So much growth can happen. But you have to invest that time. You have to be willing to take those steps, to make those strides. I love college ministry because there's no better time than the time that you're in. There's no better opportunity to go all in than right now in your life. And so, if I could just plead with you, if I could just beg you almost, I'm not going to get on my knees because I don't want to do that, but like seriously, genuinely, you have such an incredible opportunity before you. These single years of your life, and I know you might be dating, I know you might be engaged or near engagement, whatever it is, but these years are incredible. Because I don't know what's happening for you next. I don't know where God's going to call you. And God's going to be there. God's going to be on the other side. And it's okay if you're so not prepared. But God is wants to use you and is seeking to use you Take advantage to be equipped. Take advantage to grow. How is your time in the Word? How is your prayer life? Are you discipling now? What are the things that you are doing now? Because you might get tossed into marriage and you're going to feel so unprepared. I can tell you, I have so many friends I could call right now and say, hey, what was the first thing you realized in marriage? Well, first two things, I guess, technically. And they said, marriage is awesome. I am the most selfish human alive. I'm like, really? Because that was the last guy I talked to. And it's just this thing that happens, like we get so unprepared, we get just tossed into it. And all of these things that we could have been growing in and doing in our single years, we just kind of wait. And then it hits us like a truck, and we realize, man, I wasted my single years. And I feel like I'm just talking to myself. I am in the future, and you are in the past, and I'm just saying, don't waste this. Don't waste your single years. You don't lose if you are single. You're losing if you are wasting this singleness. I think a great example is, I don't know if any of you have ever trained for like a half marathon or a marathon. I think most running for me, I've ran a half marathon in my life on minimal training and minimal sleep, and it was a trip for sure. And a lot of people, they want to get healthy, and so one of the things that they'll choose to do is run. They're like, okay, I'm going to run. And it's so hard to just like go outside and just run, and then do it the next day, and then do it the next day. So you set goals, and a lot of times people will set a goal that is running a half marathon. It's a goal I set. You start with 5Ks, you run the 3.2 miles, and you just start to take steps incrementally to run a half marathon. And there's a few different things that happen within these people's progress to get healthy and to do all of those things. A lot of times, the half marathon becomes the end goal. What started with getting healthy becomes, I'm just going to run a half marathon. I'm just going to run a half marathon. And usually what happens is after they run the half marathon, after all of this training and all of these things, they just stop and they go sit on their couch until they get out of shape again. And then they realize, I need to go get in shape again. I think I'm going to run another half marathon, right? And they just go in this cycle and they do all these things. And it's like we forget that the goal was being healthy. The goal is having a healthy lifestyle, and then we make half marathons the end goal, and that's all we want to do, and we just want to run that. And here's where the analogy works. It's we have the same view of marriage. Marriage becomes the end goal, but what is really the end goal? It's to honor God with our lives. It's to be fully devoted followers of Jesus for the rest of our lives, to bring glory to His name. And marriage is not the end goal of our lives. It is a means to that end. That we would honor God through our marriage, because marriage is a picture of Christ and the church. Because of the way that we live, the way that we love, the way that we sacrifice, all of the things that we do in our service is a picture of Christ and the church. And Lord willing, when people see me and Amy and our marriage, it brings honor to God by the image that we reflect. Of a covenant, of devotion, of sacrifice, of grace, of forgiveness, and all of those things are awesome. And I hope that you would find a suitable spouse to do that in, because for a lot of you, you got to realize that the person you marry might cut your ministry in half, but it also might double your ministry. And I hope you find somebody that is a great teammate and partner that is going to honor the Lord, that is running in the same direction, that is running at the same speed, and you're not just dragging them along because you like them and they're kind of cute and you just feel bad for breaking up with them. Like, I don't want you to get into that, because that is a crappy marriage. I mean, that's a bummer. But if you think marriage is just the end goal and you're just trying to get there and then whatever happens is fine because it's marriage and it's great, then you're missing it. And if you're not preparing yourself well now for marriage, marriage is going to be so hard. Now, marriage will still be good because it's going to sanctify you and it's going to make you like Christ. But I would tell you, don't just show up one day and try and run a half marathon without training. Because you're gonna make it 6 miles and you're going to fall on the road, and you're going to lay there, and you're going to poop your pants. Because speaking from experience, not of me, but a friend, and I won't name names, didn't train. He's like, I got this. Runs real hard, body's not ready, dehydrated, should have walked the rest of the way, was too prideful, pooped his pants on the side of the road, all right? Like, don't get into marriage and then poop your pants on the side of the road, okay? Like, if that's anything that you hear from this, like, don't go there. And so, how do we use this gift of singleness in this undivided, undistracted devotion to the Lord that singleness allows? Like, how do we use this well? Because that's why it's a gift. It is a gift. And so I think those two things are growth and service. Growth and service. You need to be spending these years growing in your relationship with the Lord. To prepare you for marriage, yes, but to prepare you for the rest of your life in service to God. Marriage changes the game, but doesn't change the goal. You're doing it in different settings, you're doing it in different circumstances, but the goal is to honor God. And I promise you, if you get after it in these years of your life, if you develop consistent spiritual disciplines, that you are in the Word, that you are in prayer, that you are discipling, that you are a part of a church, that you are known in community, that if you are doing these things, your future spouse will thank you. They will be so thankful that they don't have to drag you along. I can tell you one of the most common questions that me and Brittany get is, how do I know this person is marriage material? There it is, marryable. Like, how do I know this person's marriage material? How do I know that we're going to get there and it's going to be good and this is going to be a good thing because I'm nervous. I don't know if they can lead. I don't know if they're going to be great. I don't know. All of these different things. And here's the only thing I can tell you. What are they doing right now? What are they doing right now with their lives? Are they in the game? Are they getting after it? Are they yielded to the Lord, living a life devoted to service right now? Because that is the only thing that I can say will project into the next stage of life. Anything else, you're just dating potential and hoping it works out in the end. And you might be wrong. You might get burned. So be devoted to growth right now. And surround yourself with people that are devoted to growth, that are devoted to honoring God right now. Second one is service. I think there's this crazy idea that can swim around in our heads that we just kind of will wait until we're married to find our church, to find our place to serve. We'll just wait till we're married to find how we can disciple people. And we get all these grand ideas of like how we can use our home for discipleship and ministry and all of this great stuff. And I'm not saying those are bad things, but often there is no sign that is going to happen, that we just kind of wait for the next season and then we're going to start. Or in the negative end, we have all of these negative things, these addictions, these bad habits, these bad heart things that are just in our lives, in our singleness, and we just think that when we become married, they're magically going to go away. And that's just not true. There are not married people problems. There are single people problems that you bring into marriage. Your anger, your control, your manipulation, your fear, your anxiety, those things are not going to just go away when you get married. So this is the time to work on them, to grow in those things. There's no better time. This gift of singleness is awesome. Don't waste it. Don't waste it. I'm going to jump back to verse 25, and here's how I kind of want to close this. I'll just read it. Sorry, verse 29. What did I say? 25? Wrong. No, 25. We'll go to 25. Why not? Get it in context. 25. Now concerning virgins or betrothed, it says, I have no command of the Lord, meaning Paul can't pull from anything that he has seen or heard Jesus say in the Gospels in this context. He says, I have no command of the Lord, but I give an opinion as one who by the mercy of the Lord is trustworthy. I think then that it is that This is good in view of the present distress, that it is good for a man to remain as he is, that being single. He says, are you bound to a wife? Do not seek to be released. If you're engaged, don't freak out on me. He says, do not seek to be released. Are you released from a wife? Do not seek a wife. He says, but if you marry, you have not sinned. And if a virgin marries, she has not sinned. Yet such will have trouble in this life, and I am trying to spare you. 29. But this I say, brethren, the time has been shortened, so that from now on those who have wives should be as though they had none, and those who weep as though they did not weep, and those who rejoice as though they did not rejoice, and those who buy as though they did not possess, and those who use the world as though they did not make full use of it. For the form of this world is passing away. The time has been shortened, meaning we don't have a lot of years on this earth. It's a fleeting vapor. It's here today, it's gone tomorrow. And you can live this life. I think this is kind of the Western thought that we have, that we are just going to build empires in this life. Empires of money, of fortune, of fame, of notoriety, of popularity. Like, we're just going to build these kingdoms. We're going to do all of these magnificent things. And some of you aren't going to get married, or you're going to stay single because you're just trying to build your empires. Others of you, you're trying to get married as quickly as you can because you think that's where life starts and that's where life ends. And that's where everything is going to happen. And here's what Paul's saying. He says, hey, your life is short on this earth. And he says, if you're married, what does he say? From now on, those who have wives should be as though they had none. This doesn't mean that you should ditch your spouse. See ya, Amy. Like, that's not what he's saying. He's saying, hey, when you get married, don't forget God. Don't forget why you exist. He says, don't hold on to things so much that in your weeping, when you lose, that's all you do the rest of your life. He's saying, hold everything in this life loosely. Because marriage isn't the most important thing in this life. It's just not. It is not the most important thing. And so we should never elevate marriage and relationships beyond the place that they belong. And it's so easy to get married and bury God in the rubbish of new responsibilities. That's what we want to do. That's what Paul is saying. He says, don't forget God, because the time is short. He's saying to hold everything on this earth loosely, because it's all going to go away. And you can build your empires, you can live for marriage, you can think that's where everything is going to be, but this present form of the world is passing away, and you're not going to take any of it with you, including your spouse. Can't take it with you. The clock is ticking on this life. The clock is ticking for all of us. And the time left on the clock should change the way that we play the game. It should change the way that we play the game. It should change the way that we view life. It should change the things that we live for. Marriage shouldn't be the most important thing in your life. That's as you are single, and that is as you are married. It shouldn't be the most important thing in your life. And let me just put it this way. If you just took your entire Bible right here and we just trimmed it down to all the things that talk about marriage and relationships, we would have a much smaller portion. Like, this is a very small percentage of the Bible that talks about marriage and relationships. For us, we often think it's like the whole thing. And it is a big decision. It is a big part of life. Don't take it lightly at all. Don't be lackadaisical in your thought process. Discern well. Do all of those things. But it isn't the most important thing. And the Bible isn't all about marriage. It's about a different relationship. The most important thing of the Bible and of our lives is a different relationship. And that is our relationship, mankind's relationship with God. And that is what the Bible is about. It's about Jesus sacrificing himself on the cross for us who were dead in our sins, rebellions of God, that we were in the domain of darkness, and he rescued us and he transferred us into the kingdom of heavenly light of God's dear Son. This is why we exist. It is about this relationship. It is for this relationship. It is for his glory. That's why we are here. That's what we are for. This is the most important thing. And so in your single years, live for that. Please don't think you are losing and you should be embarrassed and ashamed and it just sucks if you're single in these years. It's not a waste of your life. It's a waste of your life if you waste your single years. Don't live with that regret. Don't look back on it. The time is now. Take advantage of the freedom you have. Take advantage of it. Live for God and him alone. This is what Paul's saying. He said, I would spare you of divided devotion, of the distractions that come with so many things in our life, marriage being one of those. He says, you are free from those concerns and you have one goal, one purpose, and you are running towards that. Now, why do we get married? Why should you get married? And the hope is that you would find or run into somebody that is just as crazy about God and the gospel and ministry as you are. And that you see the gifts, you see the compatibility, you see all of those things lining up, and you say, yes, this is something that God would bless and God would do. But man, if you're here right now and you are single and you're just trying to find somebody just to find somebody, then what are you doing? You're missing it. If you're in a relationship and you're like, we're just not at the same pace, we're going in different directions, then what are you doing? I think you need to make a change. At the least, I think you need to have a conversation. Say, we're going in different directions. We're not going at the same speed. Where do you want to go? What are you living for? Because I'm living for God and him alone. This is one of the greatest seasons of your life. I know I said this earlier, and this is why I love being here. We, as a college ministry, are a sending ministry. I genuinely think, this has just changed my perception maybe in the past year, that college ministry is so transitional. I mean, we get you maybe when you come in as a freshman, and you're just bright-eyed and the best, and you're so excited about college, and then you go through the sophomore and junior year, and you just want to crawl out of a hole and hate your life sometimes because classes suck, and that's fine. And then junior and senior year, like you've just grown and transformed so much. I mean, I can just see around this room. I remember your freshman year, and you like didn't even know how to talk to people, and it's just so awkward. And then you come your junior, senior year, and all of you are like, man, I was so stupid and so dumb and so naive, and I thought I knew it all. And I'm like, I'm not confirming, I'm not denying, like whatever. But then you just transform and you grow. And there's just no season like it. And then your junior and senior year, you're investing in this ministry and you're doing great things, or you're serving in another ministry in this church, and I love that. And then you graduate and you go. And that's so tough. Like if you think about it, it's a pretty poor ministry plan for us to like invest so much time and energy in people that are never really going to turn around, but maybe for a year, and then we send you off. But I've come to love that. We say what we do in equipping saints for the work of ministry will impact the kingdom all over the world, Lord willing. And I hope all of you come in and all of you get after it and get in the game and run hard after Jesus to grow, to serve, to be prepared for a life of ministry in whatever scenario and setting God calls you to. And so let's just run together. Like, let's just seriously go together. I hope that you would surrender your life to God's cause. I hope that you would serve him now. I hope you would get in the game now. Don't wait. There's no reason to. Maybe that's serving with us. Maybe it's serving with our student ministries in middle school and high school. Maybe it's serving with kidsmen. Maybe it's serving in our jail ministry. There's a million different opportunities. There is no lack of opportunity that we have. What we do have is a lack of desire, a lack of commitment, and just a general apathy that is carried in this church. And that's what kills me, because there's no better time. So I'm going to pray for us, and we're going to worship, but man, I hope that you see singleness as a gift. I hope you see that it's not a curse. It's not a waiting room. This is the game right here, and you are in it. Let me pray. Father, I'm thankful for your word. I'm thankful for the life of Paul, in the life of Jesus, life of so many other theologians and pastors and missionaries all throughout church history that were monumentally influential in the life of the church and the ministry of the church. So many of them that were single in the years of their greatest influence and in the greatest freedom and responsibilities that they carried in their lives. I pray that your word in the opportunities that we have before us would send these people out with a fire in their gut to serve you, to be used by you, whether it's in this ministry or whether it's across the world, that they would jump on a plane and just go because you've called them and because they can. Father, I pray that we would see the great privilege and the great responsibility that we have, and that we as a group of people, but individually, would just lay everything at your feet, would open our hands and say, God, whatever you would have with me, whatever you would have with my relationships, whichever way that you would lead and direct me, God, I will go. Just make it evident. And I pray that would happen tonight. I pray that it would be true of our people. I pray for great conversations tonight, and that we would use these years of our lives for your kingdom's cause to bring about great growth in us and great growth through us. And we'll ask it in Christ's name. Amen.